Hello students, this is your English lesson. Today we are going to read Unit 1, A Shot in the Dark from Oxford Modern English, Book 8. So we start our lesson. This is page number 6 from your book. First of all, words to know. Acquaintance. A person one knows slightly rather than a close friend. Astuteness, cleverness, crosslet, a symbol in the shape of a cross used on coats of arms. Demi-line, a symbol of the top half of a line used on coats of arms. Disarray, untidy and disorganized. Elusive, difficult to find, expounded, explain in detail, futile, pointless, gratified, pleased, ineffectually, not producing the desired effect, obliged, to be indicted or grateful. Pantomime, a dramatic entertainment with exaggerated characters and actions. Quid, slang term for British pound sterling. Rambler, a hiker. Ruefully, sorrowfully or pitifully. Scrutiny, close critical observation. Sedately, calmly and unhurriedly. Smothered, covered or muffled. Successor, a person who takes on a job or position after someone else. Sumptuous, splendid and expansive looking. Vigorous, energetic. Now come to the reading. Philip Slitherby settled himself down in an almost empty railway carriage with the pleasant feeling of starting off on an agreeable and profitable trip. He was bound for Brill Manor, the country residence of his new acquaintance, Mrs. Saltpan Yago. Honoria Saltpan Yago was a person of some social importance in London and of considerable importance and influence in the country of Yorkshire. The country of Yorkshire was of immediate personal interest to Philip Slitherby. It was held for the government in the present Parliament by a gentleman who did not intend to seek re-election, and Slitherby was under serious consideration by the party managers as his possible successor. The Saltpan Yago influence was not an item which could be left out of consideration, and Philip Slitherby had been delighted at meeting Honoria at a small and friendly luncheon party, still more gratified when she had asked him down to her country house for the following Friday to Tuesday. He was obviously on approval, and if he could secure the goodwill of his hostess, he might count on the nomination as an assured thing. If he failed to find favor in her eyes, while the local leaders would probably cool off in their early enthusiasm for him. Among the passengers dotted about on the platform awaiting their respective trains, Slitherby spotted a club acquaintance and beckoned him up to the carriage window for a chat. Beckoned make a gesture with the hand. Oh, you are staying with Mrs. Saltpan Yago for the weekend, are you? I expect you will have a good time. She has the reputation of being an excellent hostess. She will be useful to you too if that parliamentary project. Hello, you are off. Goodbye. Slitherby waved goodbye to his friend, pulled up the window, and turned his attention to the magazine lying on his lap. He had scarcely glanced at a couple of pages. However, when a smothered curse caused him a glance hastily at the only other occupant of the carriage. His traveling companion was a young man of about 22 with dark hair, fresh complexion, and the blend of smartness and disarray that is typical of a rambler. Disarray here means untidy and disorganized. Rambler, a hiker. He was searching furiously and ineffectually for some elusive or non existent object. From time to time, he dug a sixpenny coin out of a waistcoat pocket and stared at it ruefully. Ruefully, sorrowfully, or pitifully. He then recommended the futile searching operations. A cigarette case, matchbox, key, silver pencil case, and railway ticket were turned out onto the seat beside him, but none of these articles seemed to afford him satisfaction. He cursed again, rather louder than before. The vigorous pantomime means a dramatic entertainment with exaggerated characters and actions, and vigorous means energetic. The vigorous pantomime did not draw forth any remark from Slitherbee, who resumed his scrutiny of the magazine. "I say," exclaimed a young voice presently, "didn't I hear you say you were going down to stay with Mrs. Stolpen Yago at Brill Manor? What a coincidence! My mother, I am coming there on Monday evening, so we shall meet. I am quite a stranger. Haven't seen mother for 6 months at least. I was away yachting last time she was in town." Yachting here means activity of sailing yacht. Bertie, the second son. You know, I say it's an awfully lucky coincidence that I should run across someone who knows my mother just at this particular moment. I have done an awfully awkward thing. "You have lost something, haven't you?" said Slitherby. "Not exactly, but left behind, which is almost as bad, just as inconvenient. Anyway, I have come away without my coin purse, with four quid in it. Quite slang term for British pound sterling. All my worldly wealth for the moment. It was in my pocket all right just before I was starting, and then I wanted to seal a letter, and the coin purse happens to have my crest on it, so I whipped it out to stamp the seal with, and like an idiot, I must have left it on the table. I should have put it back. I had some change loose in my pocket, but after I'd paid for a taxi and my ticket, I'd only got this little sixpence left. I'm stopping at a little country inn near Broncray for 3 days fishing. Not a soul knows me there, and my wig and bill and tips and cab to and from the station and my ticket on to Brill, that will mount up to 2 or 3 quid, won't it? If you wouldn't mind lending me £2.10 or 3 for preference, I shall be awfully obliged. It will pull me out of a hole." "I think I can manage that," said Slitherby after a moment's hesitation. "Thanks awfully. It's a jolly good of you. What a lucky thing for me that I should have chanced across one of mother's friends. It will be a lesson to me not to leave my purse lying about anywhere when it ought to be in my pocket. I suppose the moral of the whole thing is don't try and convert things to purposes for which they weren't intended. Still, when a coin purse has your crest on it. What is your crest, by the way? Slitherby asked carelessly. Not a very common one, said the youth, a demi-lion holding a cross crosslet in its paw. When your mother wrote to me, giving me a list of trains, she said, if I remember rightly, a running greyhound on her notepaper, observed Slitherby. There was a tinge of coldness in his voice. That is the Jago crest, responded the youth promptly. The dandelion is the Solpen crest. We have the right to use both, but I always use the dandelion because, after all, we are really Solpens. There was silence for a moment or two, and the young man began to collect his fishing tackle and other belongings from the rack. My station is the next one, he announced. I have never met your mother, said Slitherby suddenly, though we have corresponded several times. My introduction to her was through political friends. Does she resemble you at all in future? I should rather like to be able to pick her out if she happened to be on the platform to meet me. She is supposed to be like me. She has the same dark brown hair and high color. It runs in her family. I say, this is where I get out. Goodbye, said Slitherby. You have forgotten the tree quite, said the young man, opening the carriage door and pitching his suitcase onto the platform. I have no intention of lending you £3 or 3 shillings, said Slitherby severely. But you said, I know I did. My suspicions hadn't been roused then, though I hadn't necessarily swallowed your story. The error about the crusts put me on my guard notwithstanding the really brilliant way in which you accounted for it. Then I laid a trap for you. I told you that I had never met Mrs. Saltman Yago. As a matter of fact, I met her at lunch on Monday last. She is a pronounced blonde. The train moved on, leaving the so-called son of the Saltman Yago family cursing furiously on the platform. Well, he hasn't opened his fishing expedition by catching a flat, chuckled Slitherby. He would have an entertaining story to recount at dinner that evening, and his clever little trap would earn him applause as a man of resource and astuteness. He was still telling his adventure in imagination to an attentive audience of dinner guests when the train drew up at his destination. On the platform he was greeted sedately by a tall footman and noisily by a clothed people and important lawyer who had apparently travelled down by the same train. Hello, Slitherby. You spending the week and at Brill? Good, excellent. We'll have a round of golf together tomorrow. Ah, here we are. Here's the car waiting for us, and very nice too. The car, which won Claude people's approval, was a sumptuous looking vehicle which seemed to embody the last word in elegance, comfort, and locomotive power. Its graceful lines and symmetrical design masked the fact that it was an enormous wheeled structure combining the features of a hotel lounge and an engine room. Different sort of vehicle to the horse-drawn carriage in which our grandfathers used to travel. Ah, explained the lawyer appreciatively, and for Slitherby's benefit he began running over the chief point of perfection in the fitting and mechanism of the car. Slitherby heard not a single word, noted not one of the details that were being expounded to him. His eyes were fixed on the door panel on which were displayed two crests, a running greyhound, and a dandelion holding in its paw a crosslet. Claude People was not the sort of man to notice an absorbed silence on the part of a companion. He had been silent himself for nearly an hour in the train, and his tongue was making up for lost time. Political gossip, personal anecdote, and general observation flowed from him in an interpreted stream as the car sped along the country roads. Just as the car turned in at the Brill entrance gates, Claude People captured Slitherby's attention by switching his remarks to the personality of their hostess. Brilliant woman, level-headed, a clear thinker, knows exactly when to take up an individual or a cause, exactly when to let him or it drop. Influential woman, or I wouldn't dare upset her, but too restless, no repose, good appearance too, till he made that idiotic change. Change? Cured Slitherby. What change? What change? You don't mean to say, oh, of course, you have only known her just lately. She used to have beautiful dark brown hair, which went very well with her fresh complexion. Then one day, after 5 weeks ago, she electrified everybody by appearing as a brilliant blonde. Quite ruined her looks. Here we are. I say, what's the matter with you? You look rather ill, Taki. Now come to the exercises. A. Comprehension. 1. Answer the following questions. A. What position does Philip Slitherby hope to get? Answer. Philip Slitherby hopes to become the Member of Parliament for the country of Yorkshire. B. Who is Philip Slitherby on his way to visit? Why? Answer. Philip Slitherby is on his way to visit Mr. Sorpenjogo because if she approves of him, she will support his ambition to become the MP for Yorkshire. See, how does Bertie know that Philip Slitherby is going to visit Bertie's mother? Answer. Bertie knows that Philip Slitherby is going to visit Bertie's mother because he hears Slitherby's club acquaintance saying that through the train window. D. Where is Bertie going? Answer. Bertie is going from London to the countryside to go fishing for the weekend. E. What are the 6 items Bertie has in his pocket? Answer. The 6 items Bertie has in his pockets are a six-penny coin, a cigarette case, a matchbox, a key, a silver pencil case, and a railway ticket. F. What has Bertie forgotten and what does he want Philip Slitherby to do? Answer. Bertie has forgotten his coin purse money. He wants Philip Slitherby to lend him some money. G. What are the 2 reasons why Philip Slitherby does not help Bertie? Answer. Philip Slitherby does not help Bertie because the crest he describes is different to the one Slitherby saw on the letter he received and because he says that his mother has dark hair. These questions are more difficult. Discuss them first. H. Who is the other man traveling to Brill Manor and what are the 3 things we learn about him? Answer. The other man traveling to Brill Manor is Claude People. We learn that he is an important lawyer. He has traveled on the same train. He is noisy, talks a lot. He is not the sort of man to notice an absorbed silence. He likes and knows about cars and he knows Mrs. Saltpen Yogo well. I. Which part or parts of the story show us that Philip Slitherby thinks highly of himself? Answer. The part of the story that show us that Philip Slitherby thinks highly of himself is the paragraph at the top of page 9 in which Slitherby imagines imagines impressing others with his story. J. Which parts of the story show us that it was written and is set in the past? Answer. The language used shows us that a story was written a while ago. Here we can say that the references to the coin purse or to sending letters or to old fashioned phrasing. They might also look at the description of the car and the horse drawn carriages of their grandfathers. 2. Answer the following with reference to context. A. Philip Slithery settled himself down in an almost empty railway carriage with the pleasant feeling of starting off on an agreeable and profitable trip. 1. Explain which word best describes how this character is feeling. Irritated, smug, embarrassed, smugged. 2. How does he feel at the end of the story? Answer is shocked, or we can say irritated. 3. How does he hope to profit from the trip? Answer. He hopes to secure the nomination of Mrs. Saltman-Yago so that he can become the MP for Yorkshire. B. There was a tinge of coldness in his voice. 1. What does the statement mean? Answer. Cold is used as a synonym for hostility, unfriendliness here. 2. Who is being described here? Answer. Slitherby. 3. Why does he feel as he does? Answer. Slitherby believes that Bertie lied to him and he is unable to disguise his feelings when he hears Bertie's description of his family crest. See, the train moved on, leaving the so-called son of the Solpen-Yago family cursing furiously on the platform, one whose perspective is being expressed here. Answer. Philip Slitherby's. 2. What is meant by so-called? Answer. Slitherby does not believe that he is Mrs. Solpen-Yago's son. 3. Why is Bertie cursing furiously? Answer. He thought he would be able to borrow money to fund his weekend trip, but now he has been left stranded. B. Working with words. If you go through the passage carefully, you will find all the adverbs started but not completed below. Find them in the passage and notice the way in which they are used. Which verbs do they describe? When you have completed the words given below, use them in sentences of your own. A. Sedately was greeted. B. Noisily was greeted. C. Furiously cursing or was searching. D. Promptly responded. E. Carelessly asked. F. Scarcely was worthwhile or had. G. Ruefully stared. H. Ineffectively was searching. I hastily glanced. J. Rightly remembered. K. Presently exclaimed. L. Severely said. The sentences are sedately. As they paddle sedately forward across the water, they suddenly form a ring. 2. Noisily. The swan flapped its wings noisily and flew away in the air. Furiously, I looked at her with smiling face, and she glared furiously. Promptly, she promptly asked if he wanted a furnished or unfurnished apartment this year. Carelessly, he tossed the paper carelessly in the bin and moved to next room. Scarcely, I could scarcely tell my brother he was wrong at that moment. Ruefully, the little boys ruefully apologized for breaking the window of their neighbors. ineffectively. The government is dealing with corruption ineffectively these days. He hastily stuffed his new clothes into a bag and rushed to the bus stop. Rightly, many people rightly or wrongly believe the government will take measures to control inflation. Presently, these are the novels presently available in the market. Severely. She became severely depressed after her father's death. The story contains many words to do with looking. Here is a list of these words and a couple that do not appear in the story. Use them in sentences of your own. Scrutinized. I closely scrutinized my opponent's every move. Espied. She suddenly espied someone waving at her from the window. Picked out. She was picked up from dozens of applications for the job. Searched. The boy searched for the keys in every corner of the room, but in vain. Spotted. Finally, he spotted him talking to his father. Fixed eyes on. She fixed her eyes on me for a long time before answering. Glanced. She passed by me without glancing at me. Observed. He observed every movement of the person and imitated as it is. Stared. She opened her eyes and stared at me. Look at the first paragraph of the story. Find words and phrases that describe Philip Slithery's feeling of contentment. Pleasant, feeling, agreeable, gratified, delighted. Can you use the following in two ways to bring out their different meanings? A. Horribly. It is not leather, so it is no horribly expensive. 2. The child began to scream horribly suddenly. B. Terribly. I am terribly upset with you being here. 2. The accident was terribly awful. C. Frightfully. I am frightfully sorry about the delay of your order. 2. My heart misgives me. There is something frightfully wrong. D. Pretty. It is pretty hard to adjust to my new apartment. 2. She looks pretty in her red gown. Make interesting sentences of your own using the following. A. Out to feel. The leader ought to feel the pain and misery of his people. B. Ought to go. I ought to go to help him because he is in danger. C. Ought to write. She ought to write the essay discussing the problems of society. D. Ought to have been. They ought to have told us what to expect for incident. E. Ought not to hear. She ought not to have gone down to hear obvious words, abusive words. She ought not to have gone down to hear abusive words. F. Ought he to? Ought he to be allowed to do that? I thought his teacher said he was not allowed to. G. Ought to know. We ought to know the answer. We only learned about it yesterday. H. Ought not to play. You ought not to play near the windows. You might break the panes. I. Ought they to return? Ought they to return after the cinema, or might they be allowed to go to their friend's house? Ellipses. Study this sentence. It stopped, it slid, it went down almost to the bottom. In English, we often leave out words, especially in conversation, when the meaning is understood from the context or from general knowledge. Example: the baby was drinking milk, the mother tea. The baby was drinking milk. The mother was drinking tea. This is my new blue cycle. I bought it and then wished I hadn't. This is my new blue cycle. I bought it and then I wished I hadn't bought it. When using ellipses, the understood part of the verb must be the same as the expressed part. A singular verb cannot be made to do the service for an understood verb that is plural. Example: his day was long and his hobbies many. Wrong. His days were long and his hobbies were many. His day was long and his hobbies were many. 4. Find the mistakes in the following and correct them. A. I am going to the market but mummy not. Here, I am going to the market but mummy is not going. B. You are working hard but not your friend. The correct sentence is you are working hard but your friend is not working hard. C. Sarah is having roast chicken but the others vegetable curry. The correct sentence is Sarah is having roast chicken but the others are having vegetable curry. D. Drawing and writing are good skills to learn but scrolling not so good. The correct sentence is drawing and writing are good skills to learn but scrolling is not so good to learn. E. Multan has been marked on the map but Rawalpindi, Karachi and Abbottabad left off. The correct sentence is Multan has been marked on the map but Rawalpindi, Karachi and Abbottabad have been left off. Thanks for listening. For new videos, don't forget to subscribe my channel. And if you like my videos, please share and like.